Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Beer for Breakfast, ABV. And the San Diego International Beer Festival is coming up. It's going to be happening June 16th through the 18th, and we're going to sample some of the beers that you're going to find at the Beer Festival this year, along with a face that might look very, very familiar. And I'm not quite talking about Paul Segura, and I'm not quite talking about Danielle. I'm talking about buddy Tom Nickel is back joining us once again. Tom Nickel from Nickel Brewing Company, and also joining us, Tyson Blake, everybody, from O'Brien's Pub, and also the co-organizer of this year's San Diego International Beer Festival. Now, Tom, it's good to see you again.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to have you. Paul, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you.
Been so
Always
long.
pleasure.
Danielle, welcome back.
I'm a fiver. Yeah.
All right. High fiver for Danielle. We missed Danielle last week, so.
Give Tyson a fist bump, too?
Fist pump for Tyson? All right. That was awkward. Okay, let's have some beer, everybody. First of all, we're gonna have a bunch of session IPAs. Now, these are all beers that are gonna be featured at the beer festival, right?
Well, these are all beers from the competition, so all of these breweries will be featured at the festival, but maybe not these exact beers. We're going to have over 300 beers at each session, 5 different sessions, all of them with unlimited sampling. So yeah, there'll be over 200 breweries probably at the festival.
And what was the selection process like, Tyson?
As far as the beers that get chosen for the festival, well, we go for the beers that took medals first of breweries that entered, and then we sit down and chat about beers that we really like from those breweries that might not have medaled but entered the competition, and try and pick some nice things to round out the selection and bring in some maybe hard to get beers and other tasty beers that I selfishly just want to drink.
That's a good enough reason as any. And so we're going to start
Well, Tyson
off.
likes to drink them. Chances are many other people are going to like drinking them as well.
And so we're looking at a bunch of session IPAs.
All session IPAs, so yeah, we're going to do kind of a little mock judging. We brought some comment sheets here just to kind of run through the process of what we look for when we're actually judging the beers in the competition. So, which is much more than just simply drinking them and figuring out whether or not we like them or not.
Yeah. We had 1,500 entries, a little over 1,500 entries this year, so each of those bottles gets a number, an entry number.
Oh, okay.
That's how we're able to distinguish what beer is what, and judges are tasting them blindly in that regard. So they get to sit with several beers in front of them, judge them, write down notes, and talk with the other judges at their table and move beers forward, etc. That's a lot of fun.
This is all very organized, too. You guys have these all appropriately labeled, and you're ready to go.
It's serious judging.
Yeah, the judges all drink them blind, so they have no idea what they're tasting. They're just given a cup with a little number on it. So in this case, it would just be entry number 304, and they'd know it's Class 9B, which in this case is session beer, and Class B is the session IPA. So all that information's right on the bottle there. But the judges don't see any of that.
So like you can't be like, oh, I really don't like this brewery's
Nope,
beers.
not at all.
So it can't be like, oh, Bitter Brothers,
Just
I
like
hate
it's
those
just like
guys.
the Pepsi
I'm not
challenge.
gonna.
You don't know which one you're picking.
Yeah, you can't even be like, I really don't like big beer, and like, you're blindly tasting those things, and like, how was that brew?
And the nice thing is
cheers.
Cheers. We know what we're drinking.
Yeah.
And we know that these are session IPAs, so now we can drink a little more than perhaps we might ordinarily do on a Beer for Breakfast ABV.
It usually doesn't hold us back.
So just to kind of run through what a typical, what I do in a judging experience is one of the first things, you just here we have a bunch of different things on our score sheet. So you look at appearance and color, aroma, flavor, and aftertaste.
Right.
So one of the first things I like to do is just check the carbonation. I like to look at the lacing around the glass. And if it holds a little bit of lacing as you spin it around, it pretty much means the beer is well conditioned. It's got the proper level of CO2. You can look and see whether or not the beer is clear. Also check, carbonation just from a visual standpoint. And before I actually sip it and drink it, one of the things I like to do is always get a couple of good whiffs just of the aroma. Because so much of the sensory impression of what you get from the flavor is actually going to be determined by your smell. And so, I like to smell a couple of different beers sometimes, so give it a nice whiff and then kind of smell as I'm drinking to get that first flavor impression to kind of really get the essence of the beer. And then you start thinking about the balance in terms of the malt and the hops. Here we have drinkability, conditioning, and then other comments. So this beer, obviously perfect drinkability, great conditioning. comments, would be something like it's dead on to style, nice balance between having lots of hops, but the low alcohol, it's not overly bittered, it's not dry, it's not grassy.
Right.
So lots of positive things to say about it.
You could actually use the comment section to put any negative things perhaps in
Yeah.
there as well.
But in this case, I don't have any negative things to say, so that's nice.
Tom, this is really an invaluable service because we've been doing beer for breakfast now for well over a year, and we have not really ever nailed down
I'll
certain
leave
things
these
to go.
with you.
Yeah, this is good.
We might use this every week now for beer for breakfast.
Now we can drink beer. We can drink beer right.
Who do I want to stick it to this week, right?
Looking at you, Dave Adams.
We love you.
Yeah, so this is just a way for the judges to make notes, and then oftentimes, like Tyson said, there'll be about 10 beers in a flight. And so you go through, make notes on each beer, and then compare. And we don't do a point system, so then it really does boil down to the judge's preference in terms of what they like and what they thought was the best beer and why. And then they have that discussion in terms of, well, maybe this has a little bit better hop aroma, maybe this has a little bit better hop flavor. But in a session IPA, like I said, what you're really looking for is the obvious lightness in terms of the sub 5% alcohol, big hop aroma, big hop flavor, but with that nice balance between the light body and not being overly bittered. Because I think definitely being overly bitter or being that grassy hay-like flavor that you can get from kind of overusing hops in a beer that's not substantial enough to support it is one of the pitfalls of this style.
So are there breweries that brew beers specifically for this competition, or is this the beers that they are already in their lineup?
The beers that are in their lineup, sometimes, people will brew a specific style for competition. They're like, hey, I want to brew a Bock beer. I want to enter in a competition. So they'll time it to that competition. So certainly in the fall, we see a lot of local breweries coming out with their double IPAs. And that's because in the first week of September, you have to submit beers to the Great American Beer Festival. So everybody's having to brew whatever they want to submit fresh to Great American Beer Festival in that July-August timeframe to be able to ship it off in September, which is why in September we have a great selection of hoppy beers in town, because anybody that wants to send fresh hoppy beer to GABF has to brew it right then. Because you obviously don't want to, even if it's just a seasonal beer, you don't want a batch you brewed in February being judged in September unless it's like a Bock beer or a barley wine or something that might benefit from that little bit of aging before you submit it. So breweries will definitely take that into consideration when planning on brewing a style and maybe where they want to send it.
I can't wait for September now. I'm going to be so curious to actually pay attention and be like, oh, it must be September.
And in September, all the pumpkin stuff starts to come out
yes.
too. So there's that too. Yeah. All right. Well, let's try our second beer, and that is a beer from Los Angeles, and it is Three Weavers.
Three Weavers.
I've been hearing a lot about that.
Yeah, making a lot of nice beer out of the LA area.
And these guys are based, like you said, in Inglewood, so they're right under the flight plan of LAX, no doubt.
So I'm one of the judges at the Great American Beer Festival, and when we end up with about, 12, 15 beers in one flight like this, what we often do is we just, in order to kind of keep things rolling and speed it up, we kind of say, is there a beer that's obviously flawed here? Let's take that out of contention like now. And oftentimes there's 2 or 3 in one flight of 12 or 15 that are just somehow flawed.
Yeah, I've heard judges take the strategy of, especially if there's something like that's heavily flavored like IPAs and that can create fatigue pretty quickly, or barrel aged beers, saying, okay, you taste these 5, I'll taste these 5, you taste these 5, so you have fresh palates on those and good strong opinions on those, and then pull out, then you go on and taste the rest of the beers and pull out things that you think strongly about.
Yeah, so you're not all tasting all the beers in the same order,
Yeah.
So that not everybody drank this particular beer 10th, because like you said, when you taste 10 beers in the same style, it does fatigue your palate because they're getting the similar flavors over and over again. So you do want to kind of taste beers in different orders so that, like you said, everybody has a fresh outlook on something.
So do you have that like water and like pretzels or anything like that to just kind of
Water
like...
and unsalted crackers.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Doesn't it though? Yeah, you want a palate cleansing, but you don't want it to have any flavor.
Yeah, okay.
And one of the things that, the World Beer Cup, which is the international version of the Great American Beer Festival, held every other year was when it was held in San Diego. One of the things they did was change out all of the soap in all of the bathrooms to unscented soap. So when you wash your hands, you wouldn't have like floral scents bringing the glass to your, you know, and they tell you to avoid strong flavors at breakfast, you know, no cigarettes, no real black coffees,
coffee.
and don't wash your hands or put lotion on so you're not just smelling, you know, your skin cream or whatever it
No
is. 'Cause
perfume or no cologne on you.
Yeah.
Wow, so all those little
Man
things.
musk only.
Man musk only. The smell of hops on you.
Just comes right through the pores.
Well, cheers, you guys.
Cheers again.
Cheers, yeah.
This is the Three Weavers Stateside.
It smells good. Grapefruity.
Yeah, and you see, so same style of beer, but this has a completely different flavor profile than the last one. It's a little drier, definitely
Yeah, a
got,
little
like Paul
thinner.
said, got that big citrus note to it, though.
Yeah, the body's a little bit lighter.
This will get you in trouble.
Yeah.
This will get you in trouble because it doesn't have that super hoppy, you know, behind it. It's really easy drinker.
Considering this was probably, what, barely stronger than Coors Light,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
but it's full of
4.8.
flavor.
Full of flavor,
It's
yeah.
full
That's
of
the
flavor.
difference, really.
Yeah.
Wow, imagine that.
Well, you know, it satisfies the IPA drinker that would normally be drinking something 6.5%, 7%, but it has all the aroma and flavor you're looking for as an IPA drinker. But you can have like maybe 7 or 8 of them.
Absolutely. So if you know you're in for a long night
Well,
of
if you're in for
drinking,
a short night.
Yeah, yeah. Or a frequent bathroom visit.
I can only have one, so I need that 13% triple IPA.
That happens.
well, I promised my wife I'd only have one.
Yeah.
Well, technically.
I'll take the boot.
We do have a couple 3-liter glasses.
It's happened.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say Los Angeles is catching up to San Diego, but they are kind of getting the word up there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're probably, you know, everything's in an evolution. You know, when San Diego started its craft brewing scene, we were probably where San Francisco was 10 years prior, and LA is probably where we were 10 years prior. You know, so just different cities at different times for different reasons. But,
Man,
you
coming
know,
up quick.
if you talk to a lot of people, because San Diego has so many breweries and the market's so saturated with breweries from other places already, most people now have kind of shifted a lot of their marketing dollars to LA because that's now the fast growing market the way we were 10 years ago. So where breweries are still doing huge sales here, where their growth is in that greater LA basin. So
Well,
there's a
that
lot of
makes
emphasis
sense.
there. Yeah, there's a lot of
you know,
emphasis there.
How prestigious beer comes from San Diego,
Yeah.
that, you know, I'm sure that they're like, oh, like this is a San Diego beer, you know, I've got to have it. And like, it's cool because it's not super far. We're not, you know, going across the country, going across states. Like, we're just going right up the
See, and LA is just trying to extend that. Like, it's not just San Diego, it's Southern California.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
keep going with that. But it's
Well, they've also lured some of the San Diego brewers away from us.
Yeah,
Put
Devin's up
there.
in our
Devin
districts,
Randall's a
yeah.
great brewer.
BB.
Mike Beebe, yeah. There's the next Carl Strauss guy working at Golden Road now, and yeah.
Well,
kinda
Orange
going.
County had sort of been going that way for a while.
Yeah.
Ton of little breweries there. My wife and I went and stayed up near Staples Center, and I was like, oh, let's just see what kind of breweries are here. And there was, within a mile or two, there was probably 10 breweries.
That's
And
crazy.
just that, I was like,
downtown.
really?
When there probably wasn't one brewery within 10 miles 10
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
I was all the little dots on the map. I was like, really? I'm like, that's not a brewery. That's
I'm not
that's
looking for a
restaurant.
liquor
Oh, it's a brewery.
store.
You know? Yeah.
Well, it's like things are coming
It's
full
impressive. Yeah, it's
circle
really
to where they were sort of pre-prohibition days, right? Where there's a small brewery in every neighborhood.
Every neighborhood.
All across the
That's the
country.
beautiful thing about
Yeah.
the beer scene right now. You know,
Yeah.
And people talk about the bubble popping and whatnot. I don't know. I think every neighborhood wants and deserves one.
I agree.
And to have that ability, walking distance, you know, for, you know, hopefully that brewery next year in your neighborhood is making something you want to drink.
Right.
But if not, the next neighborhood over. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're only
And
stumbling distance away from.
breweries are surviving based on that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they didn't, you know, go balls to the wall and spend millions of dollars on a large system and crap beer.
There's that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's something that I've noticed in Santee with Groundswell. Since Groundswell's gotten out there, just people are so happy that there's another craft brewery out there that they don't have to, come to North Park, come up to Miramar, go up to North County. They can stay in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, when you're brewing good beer and there's those core really good breweries right there in Santee, it's awesome.
That's an excellent segue to our next brewery. Burning Beer
Yes! Oh,
in El
Burning
Cajon,
Beer,
which
yes.
now,
Yes.
same thing where you had an area that really has been underserved, and now you've got somebody out there making really good beer, and across a wide variety of styles, which is one of the things I find really impressive about them. They make a good lager, they make good hoppy beers, they make good dark beers, and that's great. And I love their session beer here. So.
Well, and that's what I love about Jeff is
get our
he's
glass.
just very much about having the core beer and does it for the love of brewing beer. Doesn't do it because it's part of the market share. It's the cool thing to do it.
Yeah.
He brews beers that he really loves, and that's what the things I love about brewing beer.
Really cool team over there too. Like everybody that's a part of that squad, and they really have done some great things for the scene itself. But it makes you want to go there when you have like a crew like that is doing their thing and rocking it hard and promoting craft beer. Not just their own, but
We had Burning Beard on Beer for Breakfast a few months ago. I can't recall exactly when it was, Danielle, but they were great. And I have to say, their logo was pretty badass with the beard being the hop as well.
It's like a skeleton with a hop beard
And
on
they
it.
also have some of the cooler names of beers, as is the case with this one, Ride the Lightning, Metallica fans. So, there you go. Yes.
And I just found out last week, Dave Mustaine collaborated on a beer with Unibrew from Megadeth.
Really?
Called A Tout Le Monde. So it's named after the song where they sing part of the chorus in French.
Right.
And so it's a dry hopped saison. So,
Dave
Yeah.
Mustaine, San Diego native.
yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Go, guys. Burning Beard.
And I love that you're drinking out of a Burning Beer glass
I
right now,
am,
Paul.
yes.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So a third
thoughts on
beer
this?
and a third totally different flavor profile on the
Yeah.
exact same style. This one you definitely get that rye malt feeling in addition to the hop flavor.
So once you kind of get rid of the beers that are obviously flawed, then it comes down to sort of a beauty contest, right? Then it's like, well, okay, I like this one because it's got these flavors as opposed to those flavors, and then it gets a little bit subjective.
totally.
I will say too that the newer hops, the Citra, Mosaic, Simcoes, of the world certainly attract the judges. They're just like little magnets, like, oh, it's got Mosaic in it, and it just, we've noticed in the hoppy beer categories that those beers definitely seem to do better than maybe some of the classic C hops, the Cascade, Columbus, Chinook style, Centennials of the world.
So do you tell the judges what hops are in the beer?
No.
So this is like
They
total
don't-
blind.
yeah.
How many judges are there?
So we probably have about 90 judges each day. Each judge will usually do 3 sessions. Oftentimes they'll do 2 sessions where they're filling out comment cards and then just passing 3 beers forward. So they don't need to, rank them 1, 2, and 3. They just need to figure out the top 3 out of, say, 10. And then those beers go on to a second round, which is generally a medal round, where because the beers have already been scored, they don't write comment sheets, and they just have all beers that moved on from the first round, and then they do have to pick the gold, silver, bronze out of those beers. So
Each beer or each judge is sitting with 2 other judges.
Okay, and so
So-
how do you pick your judges? Like, who are these people?
So they're probably split 50-50 between people that are part of the homebrew community and have participated in the Beer Judge Certification Program, which is a program run for homebrew competitions that teaches people about the basics of judging and beer styles. And so they have different levels. So you can be an apprentice and the most novice level person, but if you've completed the course, then you're registered. And then they've got people that are national level masters like, Peter Zine and Paul Sangster from Rip Current, who are, supremely high-level judges who have not only scored very well on a test, but have accumulated a lot of judging points over time by participating as judges in competitions. So that's about half of it. And then the other half are beer industry people. So brewers, brewery employees, tasting room employees, sales staff, owners, associated, quality control managers, just people that work in breweries. So, like places like Carl Strauss, Ballast Point, Stone, that have very large staffs. We'll often have maybe up to a dozen employees from a single brewery over the course of the 2 days.
So someone like me, for instance, I was invited to judge, but I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge to actually really judge. So somebody like that, what would you suggest that they do in the future about wanting to judge? Or is this like a learning experience as you go through judging?
The biggest thing is, if you're interested in beer judging, I'd say, get hooked up with one of the homebrew clubs, because they'll regularly run classes to kind of geared towards one of the beer judge certification program tests, where you can take like maybe a 6-week, once a week class at night, and they'll put it on and give you the materials, and then it's designed to help you pass that test, and then you're part of the beer judge certification program. So what we'll often try to do is blend a homebrew judge with a professional judge, a novice judge with a head brewer, so that there's different levels of experience on the table, so that the more experienced judges can help the less experienced judges kind of through the process.
Does the Great American Beer Festival kind of work like that, Paul?
They only
take beer industry people.
They only take beer industry people, and to become a judge, two industry people have to write on your behalf. So yeah, interestingly, I just wrote for Peter Zinn 2 weeks ago. I'm amazed. He's
never been a judge.
Right, yeah.
That's shocking.
It is shocking, because here's a guy who has taught so many people Cicerone classes and beer judge, BJCP things. He finally is making that step. Cheers, Peter.
Yeah, so with the Great American Beer Festival, what they do is they account for, I want to say it's like 70%, they want like brewers or owners, and then they allow for, I think, 15% of what you'd consider like trade, so beer journalists, hop suppliers, malt suppliers, people that are obviously very knowledgeable about beer, and then they usually hold back about 15%, up to 15% for international judges. But obviously not that many necessarily come over, but and then they want to turn over, so they have 25% new people each year. So if you've judged before, it's not automatic that you'll be judging again, but you're in the pool. So, because they want to definitely get, not have the same people judging it every year, so.
And then the beer festival, there's actually brewers who are making beer specifically for the beer festival, Mike Hess being one of the examples.
Yeah, so every year we collaborate with a different brewery to make a beer just for the festival. And this year it's Mike Hess with Into the Sunset, which is a blood orange IPA. And they're going to be releasing that beer before the festival. And we'll be doing a couple events with it around town. And they've got these specialty coasters, which have a $5 off promo code on them. So that's definitely something to get. And Vaughn's and Albertsons will also have the promo code materials there. They'll have big setups at the stores where you can get information about the festival. Yeah. Paul, I think you have tickets already. I think you're covered.
And then there's one last beer here.
This was our bonus beer. So this was something a little different, but that we grabbed because we're like, this is just too good not to drink.
Well, shall we?
Shall we?
We shall.
So shall we go around and vote on our favorite 3, since we all just tried the same ones on our own? I mean, for me personally, I was going with the Bitter Brothers' Little Brother.
I would say from a judging standpoint, that would probably be my number one as well, just because of the hop malt balance and how intense the hop flavors were.
Mm-hmm. Which was your favorite, Tommy?
I'm not really a rye IPA fan, but I have to admit I did kind of like the Rye the Lightning, and it wasn't just because of the name. That was good, but it was very, very true. I mean, they're all very, very different angles on what's essentially
a very narrow bandwidth of style.
That's a neat trick.
Yeah.
And none of them were like flawed severely or anything like that. So it became like you said, do I like the rye or not? Do I like this hop variety over that hop variety?
And we had the benefit of knowing which one was the LA beer, so we can be biased.
I don't know what you're talking
We
about.
like that too.
Nothing against Three Weavers, but I mean, come on, we're probably going to root for the local kid here, so.
They made a really nice double IPA that took gold this year. So
They did.
really good.
We actually judged that.
Yeah.
We actually gave them that. Tyson and I gave them that gold
Yeah.
medal.
It was unanimous though.
Good beer.
They really are.
I've had some good beers from El Segundo, from Noble, from Smog City.
You know what I did the other day? I drove out to Brawley, and I went to every brewery in Imperial Valley.
Really?
Both of them.
Wow. So which one's
Here, I
this
think
now?
This is Beechwood Brewing Mocha Machine coffee chocolate imperial porter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a little change of pace.
Well,
Yeah, will
This
be a
is
nice
more of
one.
a end of the show beer.
here's to our friend Julian Schrago at Beechwood. He is a winner of many.
He's one
medals.
of the best brewers in Southern California for sure. Oh my gosh.
This.
Doesn't even smell
a
like
little bit,
beer.
you know?
Yeah, it just smells like a hot chocolate
We
mocha.
ready that to give to Abel? That's really tasty.
Who's Abel? Never heard of him.
Careful, you might not have a microphone.
I've said all I need to say.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of ABV. Please, one more time, give it up for our buddies Todd Nickel and also Tyson Blake. Don't forget the San Diego International Beer Festival. It's going to be happening June 16th through the 18th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and you can check out more of Beer for Breakfast ABV at 91x.com.
One more thing, come hang out with us on Friday of the International Beer Festival. We will be there with the 91X crew. We'll do a little Facebook Live and check it out. Remember when we did that last year?
We did.
Good
yes.
times.
Yeah, the
Awesome.
camera was like right next to my face the entire time.
Hope maybe we
Tom
can
Nickel, everybody. Can you see him?
maybe we can get a longer wire this time.
Yes, 2017, the year of the longer cable. Paul Sicker, everybody! Check us out at 91x.com because we know you're not really working. You can see other editions of Beer for Breakfast ABV and listen to the on-air edition of Beer for Breakfast as well. Thank you. Namaste. What a dumb thing to say at the end of a beer thing. Namaste. Let's do some yoga.